Hello everybody and welcome to Retroshite. So, what can you get for 20 quid these days? A Mk2 Astra. So stay tuned to find out more. So there are tons and tons of car giveaways or car raffles, as they're sometimes called, on the internet. I do a few myself every week, as I don't have enough cars. But have you ever heard of anybody actually winning one, any of your friends? So a good friend of ours was lucky enough to actually win this Astra for a mere £20 a few weeks ago. Not that I'm jealous, of course. So he actually won this from a Retroshite giveaway. I'll put the link in the description. £20. So you can't go wrong. They generally do one or two giveaways a week, and it's this kind of stuff that they do give away. Tends to not be mint restored cars. It's usable ones you can actually get in and drive without worrying about damaging them. Right, so a bit more about the car itself. What is it? Well, it's a Mk2 Astra. It's a 1.4 Expression. Now, if how many left website is to be believed, it says there's only a couple of these left on the road, that is, that are taxed. But there isn't going to be many anyway. Westminster blue paint, anthracite interior apparently, 57,000 miles on the clock, which I totally believe is genuine. The car's been off the road for roughly about 12 years in a garage. It was discovered earlier this year, and it was put back on the road round about the April when it had its first MOT since I think 2012. So not quite a barn find, but a garage find. So exterior styling, you either love them or hate them, but they were super popular back when they came out in the 80s. They're one of the top sellers in the day. So it's actually nice and straight. There's a good few scuffs around it. The worst bits are really these rear arches, specifically this one. This will get replaced at some point in the future, cut out and re-welded in. Maybe Retroshite will get the task of doing that. We'll have to wait and see. Very similar to the Mk3 Astra, somebody's just put a plate on there, tacked it on, so not ideal. So again, that would get repaired at the same time when an arch is getting cut in. A few wee scuffs and scrapes and things, but a lot of that could probably get polished out, I would say. Wee skinny 13-inch wheels there. They've just had 4 brand new tyres put on them. I think it was maybe on the original, so just for safety reasons they were replaced. A few wee stone chips on the bonnet there. And you see these pretty cool expression graphics on it. I quite like them. But yeah, so 5-door hatch. Still got its original mud flaps on it as well, which I never initially noticed. Pretty much the same on this side. This arch has got a good few scuffs along it there. Not quite as bad as the other one. And there's also been a plate put on there at the bottom. The interior is in incredibly good condition. Check out that driver's seat. No tears or rips or anything. And I can testament it's definitely very comfy to sit in. Same with all the door trims. If you check all them out, they're all intact. Roof lining, looks like that's been reattached up at the back there, but it's still pretty tidy. Carpets, well, they're like brand new, as you would expect. Driver's one. What I like about the driving position is everything is within reach. It's in a logical position. You've got plenty of storage space down here and in there. Big glove box as well. And you've got these wee skinny door bins. They're not quite big enough to get a bottle in, which is a shame, but they probably weren't designed for that previously. They probably weren't intended for that anyway back then. This could do with being repaired. That's ripped, that gear stick gator. As for the dashboard, yeah, it's a bit of a poverty spec dashboard, this one. So no rev counter. We've only got the speedometer, fuel gauge and temperature gauge, and a few warning lights on there. rear fog light switch there and headlamps there. Hazard switch up there. Got a wee clock there. A nice feature about that is you'll not be able to pick it up in this video, but you can actually hear it ticking. So I think that's pretty cool. Original Vauxhall radio cassette system, which works, by the way. Yep, so that's fine. Wee bit of LCD damage there, but we'll not worry about that. And then all your heater controls there. Manual windy windows, which is cool. And we have a sunroof up there too. And no power steering also on this one. So manual steering, which is fine. It is still nice and light, you know, because these cars back then, they didn't really weigh that much. So what's my first impressions on how it drives? Well, drives dead easy, very easy to live with. I've only had it a short while so far, but I've gotten comfortable in it. There's no major issues that I've found so far. I've also had a Mark III. I've had a couple of Mark IVs now. Mark III was a little bit dull, obviously the next generation on from this. It was only about a year newer than this one, it was on a J plate. So that was a very early one, and this is a very late Mark II. The steering, as you'd expect from any car of this era, super light, skinny little 13-inch tyres on it as well. So engine sound, I'm not going to lie and say that it's music to my ears. It's just a standard 1.4 8-valve, 4-pot from the 80s. They are quite noisy, these, and unrefined, which is, fair enough. This one, I think, does have a wee bit of a blow from the downpipe area. I can hear it when I accelerate. So yeah, the gear select all fine on this one. There's quite a long throw in the gear stick. There's not actually that much wear in it, so it's not quite as precise as the Escort one. Yeah, you can maybe pick up a wee bit of that exhaust noise there when I accelerate. Pedals are all very light in operation. The brakes, however, do take quite a bit of pressure, I think, to get it to stop. So I don't know if that's what they were like. It's the first one I've driven, so I can't really comment, but just compared to other things I've driven at this era, it takes quite a bit more pressure on the foot to slow the car down. In terms of wind noise and road noise, I don't actually think it's that bad. We're sitting cruising there at 60. There doesn't seem to be any leaks or anything from the doors. It's quite smooth. It is a very, very windy day. Quite a bumpy road we're on here, and it's smoothing out the bumps as best an 80s hatch does. So in terms of performance, I think these were roughly 70 brake horsepower. Pretty typical for a 1.4 8-valve. What I do find is this one isn't actually fitted with a rev counter, which is a shame. I always like to see rev counters to see how hard the engine's been pushed, but I think the gears are quite short in it. It's quite nippy, it's quite eager to accelerate. The Escort I find is quite long-legged, so you don't get that instant kind of buzz when you want to go. But this does seem to have a bit more life about it, which I can only imagine is due to the short gearing. Do a wee second gear pull. It's nice and smooth, no misfires, pulls nice and strong, this one, so I think it's definitely a healthy engine. And at 57,000 miles, it must be correct. It's not the kind of car for really testing out round these bends to see how quick it goes, but, just following the flow of traffic, it's perfectly adequate in terms of handling. Put another squeeze in a second. So yeah, I think it's pretty lively for a 1.4. I mean, there's fourth gear at 30. Look at that, pulls cleanly. Wee third gear pull. So yeah, pretty strong, I think. Certainly for a 1.4. So as part of the recommissioning process to get the car back on the road, there was a good few parts that were replaced. So timing belt, water pump, got a brand new radiator in there, so the coolant was changed as well, oil and filter change, and spark plugs. Immediately when you open the bonnet, you know, looking around the engine bay, it does look pretty mint, to be fair. There's hardly any corrosion at all. You know, the slam panel, around the suspension turrets and the bulkhead, you know, they're all totally sound. So that does look pretty decent, to be fair. So let's take a wee peek underneath, see if there's any horrors under there. Good sign. So far it's all looking pretty solid under here. Will we find anything up here on these chassis legs? Nope. Even the beam across there is in pretty decent condition. The current owner's just lano guarded this as well, so we'll try and protect it a wee bit further. Yeah, it's looking good in there. And floor pans. There's the back of the sills. It's not too bad, a wee bit of surface corrosion there. Floors are looking good, to be fair. They're like new at that side, and that side's also pretty decent. That sill's a wee bit better, a wee bit less corrosion on that. Exhaust looks decent. Let's take a wee look round the front. Yeah, front floor pans are good. You can just make out the sills there. Even those wishbones are in decent condition. It's surprising how clean and tidy this is underneath. I'm very surprised for a Mark II. So guys, what do you think? Worth 20 quid? Well, it's certainly not covered in patches under here. And what's my overall impressions of this one mechanically? A couple of things I've noticed. When you're pulling away, there is a little bit of clutch judder. Hardly surprising, it's probably on its original clutch. So I would probably replace it if it was mine. Not a major undertaking on one of these. It's something like £60, like for a 3-piece clutch kit. A wee bit of the exhaust. Wee bit of an exhaust leak, I think on the downpipe area again, that might just need resealed. I think it's a little bit darty, floats around a little bit, so I think it could benefit from a tracking adjustment. But other than that, you know, it starts on the button from cold, from warm, coolant, the temperature stays spot on. There's no knocks or clunks or bangs or anything like that or misfires. So, you know, overall, even regardless of the fact if you paid an asking price for this car, what it's actually worth, not the raffle prize, I think it would have been a really good buy, this one. And a shout out to Adam for letting me borrow his £20 Astra. Thanks again.